First live coding until of the year of 2024. I hope that the new year has found you well, healthy, happy, with goals, with opportunities, with all the best in the world, in the whole wide world. And today we are gonna reminisce a little bit on what happened to this channel in the end, and start of the year like we started this channel by taking on a hired assessment, a little coding challenge that they do, my friends over at Hired, who are not my friends and I'm not affiliated with them in any way. I do know at the start of the year, companies have stopped their hiring freezes, have started looking around again. Maybe in the new year, you've resolved to change a position, career change into engineering, go into a higher position, migrate from junior to mid-engineer or whatever else. So maybe you've reopened Hired and are trying to see what is there in the world. And one of the things they have here is a few challenges that you can take, and then it puts a little badge on your profile, which I'm sure most recruiters and most companies kind of ignore, but it's shiny and it can't hurt, right? I do know that Hired does work with a few companies to get people through the door faster if they do have some of these badges, but not really on many companies. And it's very likely that they will ask you to take like a take-home assignment, regardless, even if you tell them, but I did take this as a hard assessment. But that's by the by. I think this is going to be fun. I think a lot of you are struggling with this sort of live coding challenge when you have the other person there, an engineer from the company you're trying to get into, and they're telling you, how do you do this? How do you recurse this function to call itself? And that's why we're going to get through one of these today. I don't know what the actual questions will be or the coding challenge in the end, but I do know that they randomize these. So even though we'll get 20 multiple choice questions and then 2 coding questions, I imagine that they have a pool of at least 40 questions and 4 coding challenges, and then you randomly get a few in a different order, so you won't be able to just crack on and see someone else and then take it on yourself. But still, the whole approach should be quite similar. I think this would be beneficial. My thoughts on these challenges and BAP trivia quizzes in the hiring world are known. I don't like them. I think they're mostly useless. I think they don't tell you anything about why a person would be great to work with or bad to work with. I had this opinion even before the advent of ChatGPT last year and tools like that, where very often you can just feed the question and the prompt and then they'll write the code for you instantly. And therefore, if you know how to do this by heart, to me, that's useless. To me, you're a good person to work with if you can communicate well, if you can present your arguments, if you can take feedback, give feedback. It's hard to give feedback. That's why feedback is a gift. There are so many things that people consider soft skills that are much more impressive to me and much more important to me than can you map this array? Can you reduce and end up with an object like that? I don't value those that much. Can you type fast? I don't value them that much. However, companies insist on having these sorts of things because, to be fair, they need to do something. How can you assess the candidates if you cannot give them coding quizzes? Like, what do you do instead? And I have my opinions. My biggest opinion is recommendations, almost recommendations only. It doesn't have to be, I've worked with this person and therefore you should assess them and see if we can hire them. It can also be, I know this person from real life and they seem dependable and they seem like a self-started with initiative, so let's give them a chance. And very ruthless notice periods, I would say, or trial periods or whatever you want to call it. So hire easily and then let people go if it's not working out. Because if you spend a month in a company, you should be able, as an engineer, to know if that company is for you or whether you'd want to look at somewhere else. And the company itself, your team would know, yeah, we are dealing with this person. They have hit the ground running or not. They've stabilized, they're doing well, they can improve, or they're bad, they're not a good fit, and then let them go. So that's what I strongly advocate for. Pairing challenges are good if you have to do something at home just to clear out a few people, take recommendations, and then give people a chance and work with them in a month, for a month, And if it doesn't work out, let them go. I think that's much easier than going through this. Interviewing is a separate skill that doesn't have much to do with day-to-day life, but it's a skill you can get better at. And that's the idea of today. Besides reminiscing and starting the year off like we started the channel by taking on another one of those challenges. So, again, I'm not affiliated with Hired. I have used Hired quite a few times at this point to find my next destination and a contract here and there. But they have weaseled out paying some referral money to a friend of mine that initially recommended me to Hired 10 years ago. So take that for what it's worth. I do think it's a cool platform, but again, I'd recommend going with recommendations. I'd recommend trying to find someone in your circle of friends, of Instagram followers or whatever not, that is working in a company that you might be interested in working in and trying to get in that way. That way you'll get a better feel of what the situation is there, and companies do value recommendations more than going through Hired or recruiters or anything of the sort. But still, sometimes you just need to take the plans at companies that you'd never have heard of, and Hired helps with that, especially with the remote opportunities that we have. You can work from anywhere. Is this enough preamble? I think so. Say hello in the chat. Tell me what your plans are for the year. What do you hope to achieve? What do you want to do? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Is a classic question that we won't go over today, but we will go through my biggest tip for interviewing. Right. So I will take the frontend challenge here. I think I'll just take one, like if I pass, I pass. And I press the take the quiz button. And it says, I promise to answer a question without help from anyone. This is interesting. I thought that it would have included something like I'm not going to ask ChatGPT, and I was going to make fun of it because why not? And I guess even this version, without help from anywhere, in real life, you would be having help from other people. You would, of course, be Googling things that you're not super certain of, and you'd have other engineers you can Slack and you can say, oh, I'm stuck on this, what you do. But this test, by their, I guess, their whole point is, can you do them by yourself? And can you do them while someone else is like grilling you? And I usually can, and I can do it while making jokes and and dissing the whole process. But not everyone can, and that doesn't make me better as an engineer or a colleague. Probably makes me like cockier and worse than someone that cannot go through these things. But yeah, and I will remain in this session until the test is complete. We have 1 hour 45 minutes to go through this, and I think the estimated time was like around an hour. But we'll see. The programming ones, I think they're either going to take me like 5 minutes or maybe 10 minutes with a token each, or get stuck in a loop within a loop and be like, oh my God, I cannot figure this out. This happens sometimes. You get one that you just know how to solve, or you get one that just catches you out. We'll see. All right. Good luck to us. Just double checking whether the stream is live. Take a sip of coffee first. And with all this preamble, we'll start the test. More preamble. I do have a GitHub repo set up here where I should be able to write my own tests or our own implementation or something like that. There are Hired challenges where they track whether you unfocus or not, or whether you copy paste. So some sneaky companies can say, oh, they probably went to Google, but I don't care about that. And what I am interested in is if I use the GitHub Copilot chat and just paste in the prompt or whatever, or put it in the README and tell them implement this, will it be able to implement like better than I? How fast will it do it? Or if I write up some tests and I have the spec, will it be able to fulfill the tests and do like some AI pair programming there? So I may be trying that eventually. I may even be asking for multiple choice answers, but I'm not sure. I think for like specific answers, ChatGPT is still not good enough, but it has been very impressive when it comes to some of the code autocompletes and stuff, especially if it's something older. Like in a previous stream, we did the graphs with 3JS, and 3JS has been around for ages, so ChatGPT and similar tools have tons of information to digest and they know how to work with it. So it was able to give me some good advice, even if it needed some convincing, if it needed to be told, what you do there is re-rendering these things every time and keeps adding columns instead of cleaning them up or change them. So you should do something else. It was able to say, oh yeah, you're right, we should actually do this, which was quite funny. But with something more recent, like Multi-UI for Svelte, it doesn't really know what it's doing yet. But given how most of these questions and challenges usually are, I think they're going to be something that ChatGPT will be able to just knock out of the park. All right, now the preamble is over. Ta-da-da-dum. Oh, 2 minutes for each one. Whew. How to turn an array into an object. I think they won't reduce. Oh, they're not letting me select it. They just just go. Fine, let's have the same scope. No, let's always be used instead of var. Probably var is hosted to the function scope. Let is hosted to the block scope. So that's one of those. Like var is hosted to the function scope, less is hosted to the block scope. It's either on, and I'm not sure. I say, I think it's hoisted to the block scope var. Yes, it's the opposite. All right, so what happens in every other programming language is this. Let is block scoped and var is something. Oh, do not leave the session. Wow. Should have had another window for this. What's the difference with this? X equals null, so not strict equality, and flipped X. And null if undefined. This evaluates whether it's falsy. It's either this or this. So because of the null thing, let's see, let's run it here on the console. Like undefined equals null, it's true. All right, so I think that's what happens here. Values whether X is null or undefined, and this whether it's falsy, which is very similar to this, but not what I want. Which of the following statements is not true about course? Course is only forced for GET requests, not true. Course defines rules for web pages accessing content from other origins, cross-origin request. So I think this is it. Same origin requests are not checked by course, and all of the above are true. I think it's this one, because I don't think that's true. Like post requests will also get hit by course. Same origin requests are not checked by course. So this also feels true. Could it be that course is only for GET requests? Oof. It's a cross-origin request, so this has to be true. But if this and this is true, I cannot, like, all of them have to be true. And I wonder if I get, like, I got it correct sec manner or not. Given an array of numbers, which one-liner would run an array with those numbers squared? So this, well, has to be a map. So everything, every item in the array gets multiplied by itself, which is the definition of squaring a number. So that should be it. The reduce would be interesting. It gets the accumulator in the next number. So you can do it with a reduce, but it's not what we're looking for here. Which of the following cannot be restricted by course policy? Headers allowed in a request, origin of the request, HTTP method of the request, user agent of the request. Wow. And I don't know. I think they dock a point if you get it, if you say I don't know, and they dock 2 if you pick one and it's wrong. So that's interesting. Headers allowed in a request feels correct. Which of the following statements about JSON web tokens is not true? JWTs allow signed payloads to be stored on the client. What? Without server-side state, JWTs cannot be revoked before their expression. What? JWTs can be signed, encrypted, or both. And JWTs protect against session replay attacks. I think it's this. Signed, encrypted, or both. What will this code output? Multiply and add X, Y, Z. This multiplier, well, they're using this thing. Ugh. This is something you wouldn't come across in modern code. Oh my god, and they even call the method using call. Ugh, and they give this context, so I guess this multiplier should be 4. So it should be 4 or 1 times x plus y plus z. Okay. So this is 4. And then the question is, because like, is this this object because we call it like this? I think so. In which case this would be 4. Or else, yeah, I guess this wouldn't be crossing. So it's either 16 or 4, and I'll go with 16. Based on the following ES6 code, what is the data type of the value assigned to X? What is the data type of the value assigned to X? So this is Y is a method, and we call it once, and we return a method, but then we call it again, and then we return the modulo, so it should be number. You want to declare a number that cannot be changed after initialization. Which statements do you use to do this? Probably const. Static var. This feels like TypeScript, but not really. Yeah, so const. If you const, it's not really a variable anymore, it's a constant. But if it's an object, then you can change it, so that's where it gets tricky. What will this code output? Print name, console log, this name. Oh, it's another context thing. So they're binding, again, the context to name, so it should be print name with nothing, should be undefined. Oh, this is wrong, because they're using a template literal, so this will be my name is undefined. Yeah, so this is wrong. How can I flag this? But I think what they want is this. My name is empty space because this has no dot name. And my name is foo because then when you do print foo, you've bound this to this object, which has a name, which is foo. So I think that's what they want, but it's wrong. We can try it out later. What does this code output? Timer. Ugh. First I add some seconds. 110, 1100 and 1110, remove, and then seconds. Yeah, so we'll keep mutating this object whenever we call this method. So seconds left becomes 1100, becomes 1110, and then you remove 50, so it's 1060 by the end. And even though it says timer, it's not a timeout, it happens synchronously. What does the following code print? here's an object, and then you spread the object, and then add some other variables, and then you call that method with the object 2, and you return the addition of some numbers. So I guess the question is, does C get overwritten? I guess that's what they're kind of asking. So it's 1 plus 3 plus 4, not plus 5. So it should be 8. It's not doing anything else here. There's just plus A, B, and C. Object 2 has A, B, and C. These are irrelevant. Yeah, 8. Your website has the following code included in it. Script, URL. That should be source, right? Adding which one of the following. This should be source, not URL. First of all, Mr. Hired, if that's your real name. Adding which one of the following attributes will definitely not reduce page render time. So async and defer, you can commonly just bring them in and maybe it will reduce the rendering time, because it will not be a blocking script, I guess. So ID, like adding ID, will not reduce page rendering time. Definitely not. Unless you have something else before it that says find element with this ID and remove it. And then you don't get the script. So got you there twice in question 14. In which of the following types of web apps would it make the most sense to use WebSockets instead of a REST API? Photo sharing, news aggregator, streaming music, chat, voice memos, I don't know. So I think they wanted to say chat, because if you don't use WebSockets, you'd usually be doing polling and checking if some data has been updated, but you don't want to do that for chats. But for any one of them, like for photo sharing, you'd want to see if someone has added a new photo, right? Or if added another person deleted a photo. News aggregator, you want to see the news as they happen. Streaming music, I guess that's the one where you'd least do it. You'd least care about it. And voice memos, I don't know what they mean by that. But photo sharing, news aggregator, chat, I'd say WebSockets. Super useful. But surely they want chat because it makes the most sense. We did it. We don't know how we did. Like, we saw the check marks, but I think that means that we answered the questions, which is something. But I don't know how many I answered correctly. And I'm not that confident. I'm confident about the coding questions. Let's see if I get humble pie. Probably not. It will be great on the last test you run. Given a number n, return the length of the longest sequence of characters that contains no repeats. So you input this. Yeah, all right. So you give it a number and you say how many. Cool. I see. Are there any test cases? Probably not. All right. 1 hour 14 minutes. And question 2. Your team had a summer intern who didn't quite finish their big intern project, and now it's up to you to get the project completed and deployed. Fortunately, tests are failing for the implementation of the merge sort function. Debug their function so the tests pass. I think we did this in the full stack challenge, actually, and it was like an one-liner in the end that I don't even remember. Oh well. So only JavaScript here. And what do we want here? The longest sequence that characters that contains no repeats. I have a way to do this, I think, by splitting the number. But that could be bad for like huge numbers, but probably not that bad. Yeah, I'm trying to think, is there like a reject solution? Probably not. There's always a exact solution, but is there like a good exact solution? All right. How do I get every digit of this? I think if I do a template literal here, just split it on every character. I get it, so that's good. So that, maybe that's what I want to reduce. Let's start with the empty string. Maybe it's an object. Maybe not. Let's longest substring. And then you return the longest substring. Not sure. I'll keep it inside here. Typescript would help a lot with this. So I want this reduce to return an object that has longest substring. Oh, there's somewhat completion, that's nice. And current substring. And then, do they have prettier? I guess not. And then I want to return the longest substring. Really. And if I run this, yeah, without prettier, this is hard for me. So let's reduce. Yeah, I don't know what this thing is doing. All right. And it starts like this. It looks kind of nice. All right, so happy now. Not happy now. Let's return an object. Return the accumulator. Send on Docker, which is cute. All right, so what are we doing here? The reduce, have a fat arrow method. It's ends here. Accumulator starts like this, and this is the end of the reduce, but the end of the method should be here. Okay, so I think now we're good. Guess not. No, that was correct. So what's my problem? This is an array. Return object. go step by step. Like without prettier, the syntax error is gonna be the longest thing. Seems like I have an extra parenthesis. Where? It's the end of the reduce. Step by step, we'll get there. Was it just working all along? Maybe. Oh. I guess so. Guess I need to press here. Ugh. It's just silly. So much time wasted. Alright. What do I want now? I want to say no repeats. So I want the last element of that string which should be current substring length. I think so. So now it's 0, gets the 0 element. If it's 1, gets the 1 element, so -1. No, that's correct. Is it? I'm not sure. Console log debugging. If the last character is not current number, then I want the current substring to add current number. Else, current substring is just the current number. All right, and if the current substring length is more than the longest substring, length, then the longest substring becomes the current substring. And then we return the AC, and then in the end we return this. Some string length, that's what we return in the end. So let's see. Maybe this just works. Maybe not. Oh, output is always 0. Alright, so let's re-add this and see. So it seems like the last character never changes. Last character undefined, undefined, undefined. So this looks incorrect. -1. Let's put the current number 2. Oh, it seems like it's starting to work. Did I press the wrong button again? And substring is 1 to 3. So why isn't this changing? Telling me something else. Copy paste. Oh, what's this equality garbage here? I want equality on diversity and inclusion. Equality in the workplace, good. Equality when you meant to assign something bad. Alright, we got it. Maybe not. So what's this test case? This test case, it incorrectly thinks the output is 13. Maybe like this 0 thing is messing things up. There are quite a few failed cases. This one has a 0 too. This one has a 0 too. This one doesn't have a 0, so I can only imagine the 0 has a thing to play. Or maybe not. Maybe we're just not reassigning. This is the first time we have a repeat. Ah, it needs to be repeated anywhere. Not subsequent repeats. Come on. Come on, Johnny. This would have been even easier. So, last character. Do we use that again? No. So we just want to say I current substring includes current number. If it doesn't include it, then add it. If it does, then we start from scratch. We passed a few more. It's interesting. So we're off by one here and off by one here, and that's it. So what's the situation? If we don't include the current number, do this. Else, do that. Start from scratch. Why are we off by one here? What's the difference? The difference may be that the last thing changes, like the last letter changes things, but here it doesn't. The output for this is 3. If I had 2 again, what's the output? 3. Add 1. 3. 3 again. 3. So they say that this should be 7. Why? 9 to 9. Gone. Ah, it should start from here, right? So we should be starting from like wherever this thing appeared. Ugh. That complicates things a little bit, that's true. So there must be like an index of. And if I say if index of current number is more or equal to 0, or is less than 0, then we can safely add it because it's not in there. So things should work the same. Great. But if they are the current substring, what we want to do, we want the substring to be splice or something like that. I think that it's like a substring method. So get a substring from the index of the current number, and then plus the current number, I guess. Not quite. Plus 1 here. All right. Yeah, so I never remember in these methods, sometimes you have to say the index, some of the times you need to say the index plus 1 or whatever. But this seems to work, so good. Let's look at the solution again. We have a crazy reduce. We only need like the longest substring length, really. So our reduce could be using that, but we want like some internal state. We want to keep track of what the current substring we're processing is. That's why I start this as the longest substring starting from the empty string and the current substring starting from the empty string. We check if the current number, like we're splitting this input, and we're saying the current number, so the reduce has the accumulator, which again starts as this object in our case. Maybe a bit bigger for you. Even bigger. Doesn't quite work. Then it gets its individual number because we've split it, and we're saying, does the current number exist in our current substring? What's its index? If it's -1, if it doesn't exist, the index of is going to return -1. So we can do this check where the index of the current number, is it less than 0? Is it -1? You can also say, to be more explicit. If that's the case, then the current number doesn't exist in the current substring. You can safely add it. But if it is somewhere there, we want our current substring to become itself, but only starting from the place after this character. That's why we need to do +1 here, and then still add the character there. And after all that, if our current substring is longer than the longest substring so far, then we say that the longest substring should be the current substring. The end. Nailed it. All right, so this has like the flavor text that the intern didn't finish the job, but they've created like this. They're trying to do like a merge sort or whatever method. Yeah, we definitely did this before, but I don't know if they've changed it. But it's weird that the frontend silence has something from the full stack silence. I was saying that they have many tests that they randomize, but even across tests they have a few. Even they are bored to come up with solutions for this. It's kinda cute. All right, so let's take a sip of coffee. Debug their function, so the test pass, they say here, like no spec. It's like they were doing something. Try to figure it out. Good luck. Everything fails. It looks like what they're doing is merging. Right, so they give it two arrays, they merge them, and then they sort them. And that's the idea, I guess. And it works with negative numbers as well. But I don't get it. Why is it a merge sort? You give it one array and it's sorting it. Sorry, did I break your ears with this? Middle index. What? The solution takes an array. They have a function called merge. They have a function called merge sort. And they return nothing. So just merge sort the array, like does something happen? just returns one element of the array. I don't know. It feels like they just want us to sort this array, right? So let's try not to mutate the array, which they're not checking for, because they're mugs. But I don't know what version of Node or JavaScript or whatever they're using here, so I don't know if they have the mutateless sorts. I think we can one-line this, surely. Let's see what that does. It works. All right, so yeah, when people leave and they've left some code that you don't understand, just remove it. Just close the ticket, close the branch, close everything, do it yourself. And you'll get a better result. Start from scratch. Like, we have no spec, but we can only imagine that they just want to merge the array. They just want to sort the array that we're given based on the test cases. And this works. Great. Awesome. Finish. Let's see, how did we do with multiple choice? Easy. Let's check this. So what were they saying? They were saying that, let's say that hello is undefined. And they were doing something like printing that. And the string has undefined in the end. The template literal. All right, did we pass? We did. But I guess, once again, we had 2 wrong answers in multiple choice. So we were docked 2 points for each. 1 for not answering correctly and 1 for answering incorrectly. If we just said, I don't know, it'd have been fine. All right. We could try again, but I won't. It's the same one as this. So yeah, release the best result. because I don't care about these. And maybe in the future we'll do another challenge. So we did this. Let's talk about how we did. I didn't like how it loses focus, because I wasn't able to go to my VS Code and like put in the readme, the spec, and then try to see how ChatGPT would be doing. And of course, you're not able to Google and stuff, which is silly. Like in real life, you're able to Google, you're able to ask your colleagues for help. And just because I remember like what is index of and whatnot, and how to map reduce, like, is it useful? Not really. It's I was thinking that it's a bit like chess, in that time doesn't really matter after a point when it comes to like grandmasters playing grandmaster level chess. If you're playing speed chess, of course, time management is extremely important. But software engineering and coding and web dev is mostly quite unlike speed chess. It's like regular chess, where you have all the time in the world to think about the answer. And in the end, all it matters, did you make the strongest play? Did you figure out what the correct answer was? And did you play it? Doesn't matter if you did it in 10 seconds or 1 minute or 30 minutes, up to a limit, but limitless time chess, I guess. All it matters is, did you get to the correct answer? And it's the same with these things. Like, does it matter? Did you go to Google? Did you ask ChatGPT? Did it take you 30 minutes to look through this array? It doesn't really add up. The big problems when you work in big companies and startups alike is when your whole approach was wrong. And those things, like, were we building the correct feature? Were we building the correct foundation? Those are the mistakes that if you make, they're going to cost you weeks and months, quarters. So the fact that you can reduce like a pro, like me, it doesn't really matter. Like, if I make a wrong architectural decision in the beginning of the project, then you're going to be paying for it for, maybe years at some point. So the fact that I managed to spin things up in 1 day instead of like 1 week, it doesn't matter. So yeah. The questions were interesting. I'll need to look them up. I guess the course question must have been wrong, because it didn't feel like the get request, like it only does get requests, was correct. But at the same time, 2 of the answers were, in my head, correct. And therefore, I could not only select one. I guess maybe the get one was so incorrect that I should have said, oh, it's this. And I don't really remember what the other one should be, or could be even. So yeah. Unfortunately, I don't have the spec, so I can't ask ChatGPT to solve this for me. It would be fun, especially for like the lore question, the second coding challenge, which is like, this might actually be confusing ChatGPT, because if we were to say, we're left with this code and you need to make it work, and this is like the spec, then maybe it'd be confused on what it's trying to do, and it wouldn't have arrived to the just delete everything and do this one-liner and sort the array and get out. But maybe it would have. Guess we'd never know. For the first one, for the one to calculate the longest string, I'm sure it would have gotten it in the end. So maybe I'll try to recreate that spec and ask. Yeah, so the assessment, I'm disappointed that they used the same coding challenge that we had in like the front end, the full stack one, I guess. This one, kind of funny. 969, nice. Like, this principal software engineer didn't even get a 100%, but you understand, I went for 969. Oh yeah, then it makes sense. You're hard. Right, so what did I want to do? I wanted to ask ChatGPT about that input-output question. I don't remember the specs, and I suspect that I'm gonna write a better spec than what they had, but maybe not. Please write a method that takes a number input, like 1, 2, 3, and returns a number equaling how long the substring of non-repeating letters. I think that's a clarification on my part, like not the best prompt in the word, but in my case, like, I thought that you should have two inputs together, two digits together. So 2 means that, oh, that doesn't count, you have a repeat. Well, it was like, how big, whenever in the substring did you have a repeat? So I guess like 9 would be the most you could ever get, like 0 to 9, 10 digits actually. So we would say if it's more than 10, just early out performance implementation. And I would have taken the example inputs as well. Let's go to chat. Let's see this prompt and see what ChatGPT or the VS Code GitHub Copilot integration has to say. Python function. If I was in a TypeScript file, it would be nice. Oh, it has like current length seen digits. It has a set here. That's interesting. Okay. So let's see. Let's say we have this method that rolls off the tongue, surely. And too hard. So it gets given a number, it's a number. And then we can have a test method for this. And I'm using ban here, just so I could use this. So import it, describe or expect from ban test. It returns 3. And export it. I'm exporting it now. I'm importing it here. And let's open the terminal. All right. Let's ask ChatGPT. Interesting how it's going for test for sets. It's JavaScript, I meant TypeScript. And then we'll copy and paste the code and see, does it actually work? Right, it passes the test. It returns 3 when given 1 to 3. All right. So is this actually 5? 1, 2, stop. 2, 5, stop. 5, 4, 3, 2, 5. Okay. So it seems like they got it correct. And I guess now with ChatGPT, it is things in the game, and you don't have to implement those silly functions yourself. And gives you like this an interesting approach. But besides looking at the code and understanding, you should be able to write tests. So a good way to do TDD, as it should be done, by ping-ponging between writing a test that you've seen fail and being in the red position. You can do that ping and write the test, and then you can ask ChatGPT to implement the answer to this test. So you'd be only adding complexity as you're adding good tests that you, as a human, have written. I think that's a good way to incrementally arrive to a solution that you understand as well, and not be like, oh, it's using a set here, why is it doing this, max length, like, is this... It always does this. That's interesting. So the loop, they're doing it like this without splitting, which is interesting. It's cool. I like it. It's a cool solution. But they've already turned it into a string like this. So my solution is cooler. Maybe, not sure. And here you need to type this because you know. Interesting. So similar to what I did, because of course we are implementing the same solution, but they're using slightly different names, and they're using the set. So they're keeping all the digits that they've seen. And maybe this is more understandable to check whether the current digit, and definitely digit is a better name for this. Like instead of doing a reduce, like in my reduce, I think I called it like current number or something. Digit is what I should have said for sure. And probably that's more readable. Like if we have seen this digit before, then do this or else do that. And it's kind of funny how it's doing like the best case first, which is what I did as well, even when I needed to flip things. I guess most engineers go with the optimistic scenario first. Although The bad scenario first is what I do very often, especially for early outs. Guess at this point it's not really an early out, an early like 10 line out, not that early. So yeah, I would have loved to see what ChatGPT would have done with a confusing spec one. It would have nailed it, let's face it. But yeah, if you can write the tests, then you can be better in control of what ChatGPT is trying to do and know that it works. The problem with ChatGPT or the autocompletion is that sometimes it gives you something that looks like it works, or it works in a specific case, but then actually it doesn't. But by then, when you figure out that something doesn't work, you've moved on and you've forgotten that you asked ChatGPT to do this, and it doesn't actually work. So actually writing these tests helps cats that you have thought of the edge cases. So let's ask Copilot. It still works. So we are not doing TDD at this point because ChatGPT has implemented the whole thing. We're doing retroactive testing, which is something. Okay, I think this is it for ChatGPT. We've proven that it can do the job. Hire him. And then another chance for the chat to ask me your questions, because this time it's going to be a short stream. It seems we're wrapping up. I've said before, it could be the time to get into the hiring pool yet again. Not for me, but maybe for you. Maybe you've made a resolution to career change, or trying to get into another level within your other company, or trying to find a job at a different company that's a higher level than you are currently. And I'd like to stress that when I say level, it doesn't mean your humanity level or how good you are. I think that artificial tier level that we're using just in careers, I suppose, in the career ladder, where we have senior engineer level 1 and principal engineer, super science level 3, and all of those things, which are a bit silly, doesn't have anything to do with what you're worth as a person. But very often you come in as an associate, you want to make the jump, be I guess associate engineer is often the same thing. Is it like intermediate, like mid engineer? Who wants to be mid? Probably not. But maybe just software engineer, and then senior software engineer, and then staff software engineer, and then principal software engineer, and then Super Saiyan 4 Ultra Instinct software engineer. But until then, you have to get into the interviewing pool. And as I think this exercise has shown, as the years go on, the ability to do this pub quiz trivia becomes less and less important. Companies will not realize that yet, because there is no great way to hire people that looks good in a spreadsheet and when you talk to your manager. So when I say to people, just get in, let's just hire recommendations, and not people that have worked with other people or already in the company, but people that can get a recommendation from someone that they're good to work with, and give them a trial period and see what's up. If it seems they have potential and we fail to make them sign, that's on us and let's improve. But if it didn't work out, then we have to let them go, and it's going to be best for both parties. Instead of wasting a lot of time doing these silly, can you map reduce this? And did you know that you can recurse that? It's just, I don't find it useful. I don't find I've ever worked in a project better if I had someone that was like a super pro at this. I've worked with projects in projects better when I had colleagues that were able to communicate their ideas, that were able to understand what I'm trying to say, and my accent as well. And they were just pleasant to work with. I wasn't dreading to tackle problems with them. Problems will always be there. How you solve them will change from time to time, but how you communicate with the other people, that's the most important thing. Why am I going in this tangent? Because these pub trivia questions will very often be part of the recruiting process, and how can you do better at them? Prepare for them. Even now, we had this front-end test, and it had a task from the full-stack test. And if you do enough of them, you'll see some patterns emerge, and the same things will get asked, and the same type of tricks will need to be found. We had a lot of questions with like the context of this, which 10 years ago it was like the hot question, but they haven't bothered to change it. Even now, everyone does the fast arrow methods that automatically binds the context, so it doesn't really matter. Like var versus let, do you need to know this in 2024? No, but people may ask. And sometimes you have the opportunity to take it easy and try to find a company that doesn't ask these silly questions, but sometimes you don't, and I respect that. That's life sometimes. So go through the process and understand that, yeah, var is function level, let is block level. I'm getting a trip back in the memory lane, and remember that in my head, the classification is let works as you'd expect, has the same scope as you'd expect in every other language, and var has its own thing where it actually escapes the scope of like a for loop or something. But nowadays, like, you don't need to know this. No one uses var. If your code base uses var, try to get out. Unless you're in a position to change things and re-platform or something. Anyway, even if you don't do pub trivia challenges and pair programming interviews that aren't really pair programming, in the interview process, I do have a huge tip, because in every single one of them, you will be asked to begin with by telling us a little bit about yourself. They will ask you, tell us a little bit about yourself, tell us what you've done recently, something on that front. The question wording may not be the same, but the spirit is the same. And back in my career, I thought that meant, start like back in Greece, you were 6 years old playing video games and you were doing this, and then I did this, and 18 years old I did that, and 20 years old I did that, and it was like a story of half an hour that did answer the question, but it's not really the answer they were looking for. What they're really looking for is a very quick, snappy way to categorize you and put you somewhere. They do say that in interviews, most people, especially people that haven't trained how to interview well and without bias, they make the decision in the first 30 seconds or like a minute. And most people that will be interviewing you have not been trained to do interviews. A lot of them will only be pulling up your CV 5 minutes before the interview, or while you're telling them a little bit about yourself. And that's bad, but that's reality. But in any case, having a nice response to this question that every interview starts with is great. It's a great way to open up in that critical window where they are, for better or for worse, making the assessment whether this person, they're gonna move on to the next stage of the interview process. Have a great answer for that. It needs to be short, and it needs to make you look awesome. And don't lie, never lie. But I'm sure you've done awesome things. I'm sure you've done cool things in the past. You are who you are. Someone looking to improve themselves by watching me code and go through higher challenges. So I'm sure you have something to say that will paint you in a nice light. So long as you're honest about it, just try to phrase your words faster. Don't do what I'm doing here, where you have a general idea and you're trying to spitball what you want to say. Have something, ideally, write it out. Doesn't mean you have to recite it like it's your favorite song, or have it in front of your screen like on a different window and read from there. But writing down will help you memorize it, will help you make edits, will help you realize what you really want to say. You only have like 30 seconds to say something about yourself. Make it nice, make it punchy. What would you say about yourself? Doing this may make you realize what you're really passionate about and what you're really good at and what you need to work on. So it could be beneficial to you. But 100% it will be beneficial for the interview process you're in. time and time again. I've of course failed by not giving a good intro to myself and rambling on for hours, but I've also succeeded and gotten the feedback afterwards that oh, I had a great one, I had a great intro, knows how to present themselves, knows what they're good at, some strengths, some weaknesses, what they want to do in the future, and try to present that in that quick time slot that you have. Another reason to not take too much time is because you want more time to answer the questions that they may have. Sometimes with a programming challenge, you may be at a point where it either works or it doesn't, but at some point as well, people don't really know how to assess a candidate that didn't go through the whole interview. And when they have gone through it all, it's easier to say, yeah, they cracked through it, they flew through it, and it was great. But if you've already eaten like 20 minutes trying to say a little bit about yourself, first of all, they'll probably be cutting you off, and that's not a great way to start. But also you have less time to actually solve the interview and ask questions later. So yeah, try to be succinct, try to know who you are and present yourself. Like, it doesn't really mean what's the story of your life. Let's say what you're about now, some of your strengths. If you have time, if you want to add something, how you fought adversity. Hey Sam, how are you doing? What is the importance of signing up on that side? So hired, no affiliation with me. I'm not going to give you like a referral code or whatever else. It is a platform that I have used in the past to find jobs and get recruited. I do like that you can set up where you're willing to work from, how often you're willing to go to the office, and your salary expectations. So you won't get random reach outs that say, oh, work in our like new team that is disrupting whatever, without a salary range. Like, it only shows you to companies that match your salary expectations. And it's worked for me in the past. It's good. It's okay. I like it better than other job platforms. I will go as far as to say that. And I'll say again that the best way to find a job would be through a referral. You have someone who works in a company, can tell you a little bit on the inside. It's actually good to work there. And especially if you're friends, like, I'd never say to a friend, come work with me there. And in my head, I'm like, I don't like it here. And in like 2 months, I'll be gone. So try to get in that way. And you do have a huge advantage when you come in as a recommendation, because lots of companies, especially big companies, do value people that come through the recommendation pathway more than people that come through recruiters or by showing initiative and going through the job listing. They do hire through that as well, of course, but through a recommendation, it's always easier, and maybe you get some split on the referral bonus as well, which is always nice. The stream for today is wrapping up. It's going to be a short one. I decided to do another hired assessment because that was the first stream we did on this channel back in 2023, mid 2023. The assessment link, I do have it in the description, so you can have a look there and click. You can log in, and you can log in with GitHub. I've logged in to Hired like 10 years ago. So I think you need to be authenticated to get there. I guess we can try it out. Yeah, you do need to sign in to Hired, but you don't need to make a public profile or anything like that. As far as I know, you just need to log in with GitHub. They'll ask you a few questions, I guess, and then you can take the assessment, but you don't need to have an active profile. And you don't need a subscription to Hired. They make their money by getting a cut whenever another company hires them. When another company hires through them. Like, should I actually use like this invite thing? And then you get this. I'm not sure. Let me know in the Discord if you actually want to sign in through this, because I do think like you're getting something. But as I said, I've been Hired has scammed me out of this in the past, so I'm not sure how much faith I'm gonna put in on that. But yeah, you need to sign in. You don't pay anything as an individual looking to get hired. You don't need to have an active profile to be in the hiring pool. And I don't think these assessments do anything. I don't think that the companies will look at the budgets and say, oh, they've done like 100% on this, or They don't have this badge, so I won't read it out. But I do think they're quite similar to what you'd find as a coding interview or fake pair programming interview in a company. So they're beneficial in that front, that they can get you some practice being good at that thing. So yeah, that's the answers about hired. Biggest interview tip, on every stage, even if it's coding, even if it's cultural, they will ask you, tell us a little bit about yourself, have something prepared. Don't recite it, but have it written down so you know what you're going to say in that small time frame. So Sam asks as well, does that make sense for ghost coding to exist similar to ghost writing in the music industry? And can you explain the word ghost coding? Is it a buzzword? I haven't heard it before. I love it. I guess it's when you have a friend write your coding, your code for you. So lots of companies still do take-home assignments, and you're supposed to do them yourself. But what's stopping you from going to Fiverr or going to a friend, coming to me and say, hey, Johnny, like, do you mind implementing this? And then you set it back, and suddenly they have like a principal software engineer level code for a junior position or whatever else. Nothing. Just your honesty, I suppose. But given I think that the process is kind of broken and I hate take-home assignments, I wouldn't mind that much. What we have done before is ask GitHub Copilot. We've given a prompt to Copilot that matched a part of the coding challenge that we did today, the assessment we did today, and it came up with code that fulfilled every test that we put. Is that ghost coding nowadays? Probably. Like I wrote the prompt, I relayed the prompt and the spec to Copilot, and then it did the code. Is it ghost coding? Yes, that's the spirit of it. Although in ghostwriting, if I were to hire a professional writer to write my biography, I'd be able to then read the book and understand the words. But if you were to hire someone else, if you were to use a friend to come up with a code for your take-home assignment, then you wouldn't be able to understand at some points what they're doing there. So if I had someone who is in game dev, for example, and they were doing C# in Unity or whatever else, like a C++ in Unreal Engine, and I told them, make this demo and I'm going to send it to Larian and try to get into the Baldur's Gate position, maybe I'd have a cool game that I would be able to show them, like good code, but I wouldn't be able to understand it. So afterwards, when they ask me, why are you doing this here? Why are you deleting this here? Why are you substituting this texture? I wouldn't be able to answer. So I would be caught in the lie there. So with coding, unlike ghostwriting, where you can just read the book and kind of get it, what's happening, with code, sometimes you won't be able to know. Yeah, according to your skill level, I suppose. If I hadn't actually seen the code, I would be like, oh, why are they using a set here? And I could kind of get why, but I would need to peruse the whole code to really understand it. Because if I had just submitted this and then in the follow-up interview, someone asked me, oh, why did you use a set there? I'd be like, I don't know. Why? A lot of weird errors attempt to get past the host login. It's like the identity web service. It's constantly causing a hash collision with hired specifically. I don't know. They may have something there. I'm just signing in with GitHub to them, and it's very likely that they'll have an error going on. I remember there was one interview process where I brought up that I tried to sign up for your SaaS, but I got this error, and I showed them the console log that I had screenshotted, which was quite funny. But yeah, hired. It's a real company, so they may have some problems in production as well. Maybe they didn't pay their Auth0 dues. Maybe. So that's my biggest interview tip. For any interview, you will be asked this, and have a little cut thing to say at the front to hype you up, like get like the best of you, like a great profile picture, capture the best of you, deliver it, and feel good, get in the correct mindset to cross the interview, the rest of the interview. It's the one thing you can really prepare for. You'll always be asked this, and you can always get a great answer right out of the gate and set your momentum there, because you don't know what coding challenges they'll throw at you, what type of questions they'll have. Even though sometimes they repeat yourself, they want to see like when did you overcome adversity and all of that, which I'm a bit jaded to answer nowadays because I think it's a bit silly, but that's by the by. And given that we are almost at the end of the stream, if you'll indulge me yet again, like the final stream of 2023, we can do a little YouTube review. So I started uploading this channel around the midway of the year after I got the summer off to get married. And I'm happily married now, and I have a puppy, so that's amazing on both fronts. And we've made it to like 800 plus subscribers, so I'm interested to see if this stream has more traction than the very first stream we did, which was also a hired coding challenge, because now we've got more subscribers, but maybe not. And I do have the stats, like even in my old channel, which I haven't published anything in many months, it's gotten an additional 713 subscribers, and the best performing, I guess, video when it comes to watch time and getting new subscribers has been the test SvelteKit with TDD and VTest, which makes me very happy because things have changed since then. When I made the video, it was kinda hard to make VTest work with SvelteKit because SvelteKit was using Vit in a kinda weird way, like roundabout way. But then, soon after the video, as is tradition, SvelteKit made a release where it's working now with Vit in a more straightforward way, and therefore you can more easily add VTest into. And even the SvelteKit wizard, when you set up a new app, will ask you, do you want to set up VTest? Yes, no, you say yes, it's set up. You don't need my video. But I do include my favorite TDD exercise in there, and I did try to explain why I'm doing this, why you want this, why you try a test like this. And since people keep watching it, even though it's much easier to set up VTest, I'm sure that people are finding it useful to see what I think about TDD and how to do TDD and all of that. And the other one, in what time I forgot to add the title there. Oh, it's SvelteKit Auth with Firebase and Magic Links, which funnily enough, it's also, well, what a guy. I was in Barcelona for this one, and I had an awesome brick wall on the background in that Airbnb style apartment. It looked very cool. I was there. Still, if only just to record the videos, I think the background looks awesome. But as it happens, I made this video. It took me a very long time to make, but SvelteKit had a breaking release of how it's using the hooks and the page stores and all of that. But people are still watching it, so my efforts to make it be kinda evergreen, and besides the specifics of how to use Firebase and Magic Links with SvelteKit, even though these fundamentals have changed, the basic idea and the problem solving must have been legit, and I tried really hard to make it be legit, and it must be since people are still watching it, so that's good. But I may remake this video with like Supabase and Magic Links or something, because I do think it's useful. And yeah, I do have a look at the comments, like every single one, and it doesn't seem like people are like, this doesn't work anymore, even though it doesn't. So I think it gets them all the way through to be able to implement this. So that's something. That's nice to see. And another one is the carousel one. Wow, a huge head on this one, which I must have done right before moving to Barcelona, because like a little Easter egg in the end is that I added the Barcelona location even though I was still in London, or maybe not London even, maybe in St. Albans, like didn't have a nice background of the Sard there. I only had it in these pictures. But yeah, that's the old channel. the new channel, more than 800 subscribers since we started, which is amazing. Thank you everyone for watching, most of all. And amazingly, both of the most watched and most subscribed streams, videos, have been actually live streams, not videos, which is amazing. Videos take me so long to make, and I do think they're very, very worth it, because in a very short time, I think I managed to deliver some understanding in a subject, whether it is view transitions or auth in the other video. But it's great to see that even when it's like 4-hour live stream of me going through a course, people still enjoy it. It still takes effort to do this, but because I'm such a stickler, my vision for what I can do in the edit room with Final Cut or DaVinci Resolve is much better than my ability to use this tool. So it takes me a long time to get the videos out. But for the live streams, even though I do the research, like I come live and that's it. Then it is done. I may be adding the timestamps later, but I don't need to edit anything after the fact, so they take much less time. So it's great to see that people find them useful, and I'll keep doing them because they're fun for me, and it's great to interact with the chat and learn new things as well. It's great to try things out live. So the next S14 one was the biggest one, both in what people were watching, but also in what made most people subscribe. That's great. In watch time, the Astro and Figma one is the second in watch time, but only got a few new subs. So I don't know what that means. Maybe that people click through to see what I'm doing, and then I bored them by trying to do CSS stuff for too long, and they fell asleep before hitting the subscribe button. I found that interesting, so I wanted to mention it here. And as always, like, the income for all of this is zero. I make no money out of this. I just do it for fun. I try to do this to unblock engineers that may be finding some things overwhelming in the tech world, because the tech world is also awesome. JavaScript is awesome, frontend is awesome, full stack is awesome, Svelte is awesome, Tailwind, all those things are amazing. They're a pleasure to work with. They can help people deliver their visions, create their businesses, have great online experiences. So I love it here. I would love it if you come here as well, or if I could make your path in engineering better. I love it. I love getting comments like that where people ask me questions, I answer them, they say that I was helpful. I love it. So that's why I do it. It's not because I'm saying, oh, this is sponsored by XXX or whatever else platform. Like, this VPN is telling me to tell you that you should do this. I'll never do that. Right, so I think this is it for my indulgent 2023 interview. For the next stream on Friday, we'll be back to doing a series, and I think it will actually be Supabase with SvelteKit, Supabase auth with SvelteKit, probably GitHub auth again, or Magic Click auth again, and then if we wrap this up, it's gonna be subscriptions with Stripe, subscriptions with like SaaS style subscriptions with Stripe and Supabase. We'll finally be able to crack this. Those are my plans for Friday's stream and the start of 2024. But as always, let me know what you'd like me to cover. I like doing things that are helpful and practical. So if you have something else that you're working on that you want me to explain, let me know and I'll see if I can do it. Or else, like, sometimes I can just point you to someone else that has covered it and you can go about your merry day. All right. I think I'll count this as a check mark. Anything else from the chat? So this was fun. Wow, that was like 4 hours, 12 minutes. Rewarded for like persistence, if anything else. I even wore my one of my shirts as well. One of my lucky shirts as well. From the videos, some of them blew up after the fact, like the Applek feel. And this follow-up, I expect that at some point it will blow up as well, because I think video-wise, it's the best one I've ever done. But it's also a bit of a niche case, so maybe that's why it's not quite blowing up. Anyway, this is gonna be it for today and this stream. We went through the Hired's front-end assessment. Let me know in the future, should I do the back-end assessment as well? Should I do other? Should I do like Python, iOS development? I have no idea how those would be, but it may be fun to do. But most of all, Supabase and Auth and Stripes and subscriptions. This is my plan. If you have other plans, other suggestions, let me know. All right. Once again, have a lovely 2024. May this be the year where you become the best version of yourself until the next one. And keep learning, keep helping me learn as well. And stay healthy and stay fun. Have a lovely rest of the week, everybody.